You know, following a recipe is a good thing if we know the product of the recipe is good. But I want to tell you, you can follow a recipe that can produce something bad as well. A recipe for disaster. A recipe for loneliness and isolation. And what we hear from Romans is a pretty good lesson that describes a recipe for isolation and loneliness. I think all of us grew up and were kids at one time and we were comparing what our dads could do. You know, yeah, my dad's in the military, and well, my dad's a commander, and I'm kidding you not. One time I said, oh yeah? Well, my dad's the commander-in-chief. I didn't really know what that was. That's the president, by the way. The commander-in-chief. And my dad actually was a chief petticoat officer. Big difference. That's the highest rank before an officer. Chief petticoat officer. But look at it. We were doing the one-up thing, so I'm like, I heard commander-in-chief somewhere. I'll go with that. Sometimes we always want to outdo somebody. Or we always want to prove our point to make sure that we know we're right. And that can get old and draining on people around us. It's a personality trait. The desire to always have to be correct. The desire to always talk your way out of trouble. It truly is a personality trait. And it leads to isolation. It leads to loneliness. People don't like to hear it. It hurts others. And in the church, it causes divisions. But within the church, we have that. The church is no different than the real world, you know. What the church is supposed to be different about is the way we talk about our conflicts and we love each other through them. That's what makes us different. And we're supposed to remember how God has forgiven us, so we have the mercy and capacity to forgive others. But other than that, it's no different than the real world, who we are. In our reading, it says, welcome those who are weak into the faith. Welcome everyone to your place of worship. Just because someone is not at the same sphere or understanding or spectrum of spiritual life that you may be, welcome them. Here's a radical thought. Welcome someone that interprets Scripture differently than you. I'm not talking about blasphemy or something that is so far out there that it's disturbing and uncomfortable. But I want to tell you there are different ways to read and hear Scripture and proclaim Scripture. And no one of us get to claim 100% authority 100% of the time. Paul is writing about the ability to say that all means all and all are welcome. The particular issues that Paul raises up here are twofold. Number one, he talks about dietary issues, where at one point certain meats were precluded from the diet of the Jewish custom, and now they're being included. And there was a huge division and a fight over this. And Paul is trying to say, whether you eat meat or not is irrelevant. That you love the Lord is relevant. Another issue is what day should be the worship day. Is it Sunday? Is it Saturday? One day greater than the rest? Or are all days equally important? Paul addresses that issue as well. What's important is that we love the Lord. He goes on to say, doesn't matter whether we live or we die, we are the Lord's. And we are to find a way to be inclusive and welcoming and bring others into our fold to grow together. Spiritual growth does not happen unless you have people on either side of you in terms of understanding, maturity, depth, knowledge. We need that on both sides of us. We need someone sometimes to slow us down and make us think and go back to basics. And we need someone who's a little bit further along to push us into an area of new thought and imagination in prayer. There is approximately zero spiritual growth in complete unanimity. Nothing there. Paul says, welcome everybody. But not so you look good. So I'll have to figure out a way to tell this story in a way that doesn't reveal all of my bad behaviors in the past. I'm not sure it's possible. So sometimes when it was time to go out on Fridays or do some socializing, if the circle you traveled in always had at least a couple of gnarly looking people, you always look better. You see what I'm saying? Sure, come on along with me. And make sure to get some that aren't so good looking. Because that helps your cause. That's not why all are welcome. So that we look better. But that happens. Some people are brought along to be a part of an organization or a group just to be a fall person or a fall guy or a to blame person. This really does happen in organizations. Someone's always got to pay when mistakes and problems occur, and sometimes people are brought in just to be the whipping post. That is outside the church, but nonetheless it demonstrates a bad behavior. Paul is clearly saying, do not welcome people into your church and your family simply so you can browbeat them and demonstrate what they don't know. Because in reality, we need those people on either side of us to help us slow down and think. Or even better, re-explain what we believe and share with them, for it becomes concrete and understandable as we share. And for someone on this side to do the same to us. Probably our best example of progressive training that exists in our country might just be our school system or our athletic system. We have a range of knowledge or demonstrated skills that should exist at certain levels, and then each time a child advances to the next level, new skills are acquired, and we understand that they should not have X level skills at this age, and we walk them along and bring them along. So too is faith development. We are expected to grow and develop. The only problem is we can't separate it on size and age, which might be a little easier in sports. But in spiritual development, we are reminded all are welcome into God's kingdom. I do know that it is very tempting to become frustrated and to point out the faults of others when it comes to what we believe and how we're trying to share our faith and organize as a church in a larger community. But we are reminded this night that we are not to welcome others other than to learn and love. It is not to criticize and judge. All of us will stand in the presence of God, who will remind us how we treated others around us. Ultimately, who will forgive us for our mistakes and commend us for our successes. And so as we go out from this place, I encourage you, there is no one who does not belong in our community of churches. There is no one. Everyone is welcome to St. Agnes, to the Baptist Church, to the Methodist Church, to Zion Lutheran, to the Seventh-day Adventist. We are all here trying to proclaim God's love and grace. share that. But take this to the bank as a promise. We try to model this here at Zion. All are welcome. All means all, and that includes you. Amen.